we try to share pretty good, and it's been a pleasure knowing you.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's certainly a pleasure to know you. In fact, Lawrence and I run into each other pretty often. In fact, just as recent as last week at the funeral home in Campbellsville, we had a mutual friend to pass, and it seems like that Lawrence and our paths are crossing more. But all it took was come to work at the Wave, and I met Lawrence Harris. Lawrence is a biker type dude, but I consider you one of my listen. I'll tell you, I consider you one of my bestest friends, and I appreciate you and all you've done for me, and thanks for the great relationship that you formed between the newspaper and the radio station.
And we appreciate Ed and other members of the press that work closely with Wave Radio. We are just one big family, and we try to always be sensitive to that here at Wave, and we just so much appreciate. I can't even begin to tell Ed and Larry and Donna the Progress how much we enjoyed working with them and others in our industry. It is a very special kind of eclectic group of individuals that choose radio and newspaper and media, but it's a wonderful group of people with a lot of diverse backgrounds.
Well, Alan, again, thank you for again all your encouragement. Alan always encourages. And
now we have Mike Wilson had a little story he wanted to tell this morning.
Well, I'm going to talk serious this morning about both these boys. You know, Larry is a very good broadcaster. He was really a good guy for a news guy. If there's anybody can find out something for you that you can't get from the authorities, Larry Smith can do it.
Amen.
And so people really think a lot of Larry, and they'll tell him things, maybe some things shouldn't, but and he really does a good job in that area.
I got to tell you, I ask you to relay one more story, and we could go on all day long. There's so many things so many war stories, I guess we could tell, because we've all been in the trenches out there together. But I know Larry spent his formative years in radio pretty much working for and with you. But Larry has always been known to push the envelope sometimes with rules. And one of those that you had involved selection of music and certain cuts that were not to be played on albums. And
of course, they had a few choice words in that you wouldn't want.
Oh yeah, that you would not want aired. And Larry's been known to play a cut or two, along the way. So tell the folks, and we'll all relate to this because there's a bunch of baby boomers listening out there.
I know the story he's going to tell.
Yeah. Okay.
Break the record you made this.
Well, no, there's two. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the two things you did to keep Larry from playing cuts off albums.
Well, one thing we would do is take a pen and scratch the cut to where they couldn't.
Now you'd make Larry do that though, right? You'd make him make his thing. He'd go, oh man.
Oh, it hurt too.
I'd take a pen and go all the way around those grooves.
It's like scratch the record with it. That happened.
I wasn't back then,
And then Wilson also, Larry, you could tell this one what he would do if you played a cut or a record you weren't supposed to. What he would make you do with the album. Now we all know that record albums make great frisbees, right?
Oh yes, they do.
Yeah. Especially those old promo copies we used to get. Many of them have been known to take a frisbee flight right out the back door,
exactly.
down the field,
Oh yeah, we're right into the front of the building. That's Mike came in the radio station in Greensburg one night. Excuse me. Mike came in the radio station. I played an AC/DC song. I remember the tune very well. Mike said. Mike he came up the driveway sideways in his Toyota Celica. I'm going, uh-oh. I said, uh-oh, I'm busted on playing this song because, see, a bunch of people were partying over in Campbellsville and they wanted to hear this song. So anyway, Wilson come up the driveway and he said, that record you just played a couple songs ago, where is it? And so I knew what he was coming after, and I stuck this album back in the back of my album stack there, and Mike was looking through them. Where's that song that you played? I'm going, which one are you talking about? He says, that one you played 2 or 3 songs about Big something or whatever. I'm going, oh, I know what he's talking about. So I took the album out of the shuck and stuck another one in there, a gospel album or something. Mike pulled it out. That's not the one I'm looking for. Anyway, I had to hand him the AC/DC album. He said, let's go outside. So we went outside, and I had to fly this AC/DC album into the front of the radio station and broke into a million pieces.
That brick wall.
Yes, the brick wall.
He made you fly it into the building.
Yes, he did.
Mike, that's a classic story. That's a great story. It is. That's a good one.
And he says, now, that will never get played again. Now pick up these pieces. And it broke my heart here.
We all had our formative years. Pupils?
I tell you what, I want to
tell one on Don and Larry.
Oh, okay.
You know, Larry's he's a practical joker, you know. And Don one day was reading the news. Larry decides he's going to pull one on Don, and he was reading the news. For what people used to try to do is slip around with a cigarette lighter, take a cigarette lighter,
Set your news on fire.
set the news on fire.
Yeah, that was days of the old AP machine that sit there and hammer it all night long. And you know, and that truck would pull up that had all that AP paper in there, and you, oh man, I got to unload this thing. You know, they just all they do is just pull up and open the door. You know.
So
Anyway, back to
Larry hit the cigarette lighter, lit Don's news on fire. And he got up. Don threw that news down. He said, "Heck!" Although he didn't say heck, he used another H word. Heck, fire!
You remember that, Don?
Seems like I do.
Man, I tell you,
Pupils, did you have something you want to say here? As we start to wind this down?
Just wanted to say that you were correct when you said that Larry was an aggressive news hound, news person. For many years, of course, I worked the state police, and a lot of mornings I'd have 4, 5, 6 phone lines going, and Larry would call me wanting to know about some little something that happened somewhere, and I'd have to put everybody on hold and put everybody off until I talked to Larry on the air. He'd call me and say, "Well, you're on the air, Steve, you know, and tell me about so-and-so, a little wreck that happened." And so I'd put everybody off and talk on the air with Larry. But it was really nice. 30 years ago, I was working in Greensburg, and one night I took a break at the hospital, and I had WGRK on, Mike, and Larry played a song. The first song that I ever heard Larry play, and I'm sure he was brand new at the job, was "Crazy Mama" by J.J. Cale. Now, as a young musician myself, I thought, who is this guy that knows who J.J. Cale is and knows the song "Crazy Mama"? So I subsequently called him, and we struck up a friendship that has now lasted for 30 years. We need to realize what a great thing that this community has, that we have the Wave. And yes, it is the last great radio station. It is a throwback to an era that we grew up in with the other great radio stations. And we need to realize how fortunate we are that we have talents like Larry and Don. And the good thing is, people do know that. And
we've all had good teachers. I mean, it all boils down to, the ideas that I express and use on the air are not mine. I've borrowed them from Alan or from Tommy Kerr or from some big superpower at 84 WHAS in Louisville. And it's, again, I think you can take a good idea and learn from it and work for someone who encourages you, like Alan Reed. I know there's been some good days and some bad days here at the Wave, and Alan's always had an excellent way to handle the situation. So I dread the day that you retire, and I hear you have a little announcement to make.
Well, just a semi-retirement player. I'm going to slow it down just a tad. I will never quit, but definitely plan to slow it down immediately, if not sooner.
Pupils, can we get you to pronounce plastic for us on the air just one time this morning? Plastic.
Plastic. Pupils looks a little bit befuddled here.
Up where I'm over here on plastic up there. Yeah, do it for me.
you want me to talk about putting up plastic up here on Dictator Road?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yes, I did call Steve and put him on the air live a bunch of times. In fact, I'd call state police on slick mornings on when roads were bad. I'd call the state police and be on there giving road reports and things like that. That's just the way we were trained to do radio. You don't hear radio done that way anymore, except for here at the Wave.